Okay, welcome everybody. My name's Scott Somerville. I am the CEO of Opira Group. We have offices in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne and Perth. And today I'm going to talk about HEPA filtered technology, particularly this machine. But before we do that, I just want to pan to this. This is a Class 2 biological safety cabinet. And if you've given a COVID test or your blood test or something like that, the scientists that are working out what you've got, they sit in front of that machine. Air goes in here, up the back, clean air comes down through a HEPA filter to protect the work, and then the other part is exhausted through a HEPA filter to protect the environment. That keeps the cabinet at negative air pressure. Now this here is a negative air machine, commonly used in the asbestos industry, the mould remediation industry. We use them around construction sites to keep a construction site in a hospital at negative air pressure so that you're not cross-contaminating an adjacent critical area with dust from a construction site. They can be used in air conditioning remediation industry where you're putting ducting at negative air pressure. The air comes out, is pre-filtered, HEPA filtered and discharged into an occupied space. Takes out 99.97% of particles down to 0.3 micron. So for a long time, I've sort of been hovering around hazardous materials remediation, and our core business, we're a NATA accredited laboratory. We test HEPA filters to Australian standards. We also test biological safety cabinets. There's a whole pile of tests, airflow, light, the barrier containment, but there's also a HEPA filter integrity test on the supply and the exhaust HEPA filter. Now, that testing requirement, one of these cabinets where you're working with biologicals, if we move that cabinet 1.2 metres, move it to the other side of the room, the requirements are that it be recertified because you can affect the integrity of the HEPA filter. These little bad boys, every year they get tested, put into the back of a truck, and then they get taken in and out of a truck multiple times over the year, and then they get delivered back to a site where they're tested. I can tell you now, if I ever see a neg air machine on any job where they're removing hazardous materials, I never walk on the downstream discharge of the HEPA, because in an industry where it matters, because they're saying coronavirus got out of a lab, that's the primary containment device in the lab, and then the lab itself is a contained area. These machines, they get handled fairly harshly. So I want to talk about the methodologies of a piece of equipment that the team here at Opira have designed so that we can overcome some of those. So first of all, we've got the inlet side of the system here, and having an intimate knowledge of filtration, we've designed this with a high dust holding capacity pre-filter, and then in there we've also got a high airflow volume HEPA filter. Aluminium separators, but they're close together so that we've got the most filter media that we can possibly get to put less pressure on the fan. So that's something that a lot of neg air machines have. Inside here, we have the HEPA filter. Now this is a bag in, bag out HEPA filter. You can see it's quite large. So these are on toggles. So if you want to replace the HEPA filter, you can pull that out, slide the HEPA filter out into a bag, seal it up and dispose it according to the regulatory authorities. One of the test methods that's available, 22.AA.201.2, you're basically creating an aerosol. So this is an aerosol generator, and you're putting an aerosol into one side of the equipment, and you're supposed to be able to get an upstream concentration of that aerosol in front of the HEPA filter, and then you're supposed to test the HEPA filter to make sure that it's not leaking, and in accordance with that standard there's a leakage requirement. Currently, most neg air machines that we're aware of on the market, you're scanning down here and you're just looking for an aerosol leak, a certain penetration, but the filter's here. So going back to this technology, when we're scanning a HEPA filter, the method, you're actually scanning 25 millimeters off the face of the filter. You're doing every seal around the filter, and you're doing every pleat at 5 centimetres a second, 25 mil off the face. So most neg air machines that I've seen, and we've got an air conditioning restoration business, we've got a shed full of them out the back, so this has long been an issue for me. I don't know if that filter's leaking, apart from when I test down here and I get some aerosol, it says it's leaking. The only thing I can do is change the filter. You know, a lot of machines come back from site after a year and struggle to pass a HEPA filter integrity test because they've been bouncing in and out of trucks for a whole year. So we've designed this with a glove port. So you can see here, we've got a glove port, and this section is under negative air pressure because the fan is located in here. So we need a glove port, and we actually have the head of the photometer built into this equipment. So we can get to the downstream side of the HEPA within 25 millimetres. The advantage of that is, not only do we know if it's leaking, we know where it's leaking, and then we can repair it. So if you've got like a really high risk project and you've got a number of these set up, with this equipment, you can now set it up on a big enclosure and you can scan test it in place before the removal starts. And I think that's, you know, if you want to talk about safety and, you know, being able to engineer something to make sure that it's really safe, you can set the enclosure up, you can smoke test the enclosure, you can pressure test the enclosure, but you can also do an on-site DOP test on the filter, 25 millimetres off the face, and make sure that it passes. That way, if someone is walking behind it, they're not going to be exposed. I've got grave concerns about how some of these enclosures are set up, and everyone thinks I've got a neg air machine, I'm fine. I very, very much doubt it, and I think it's something that really needs to be looked at. You need to be able to test the filter and work out where it's leaking. So this is a prototype machine of ours. Going to be in production very soon. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about containment, building enclosures, and about neg air machines and about the testing methodologies of HEPA filters, look us up at opira.com.au, give us a bell and pop in and have a look. This one's located in Brisbane, but yeah, we can set up Zoom presentations and conversations. So we'll talk to you soon. Thanks very much.